Well, guys, we are live from the Zone Collectibles, our sponsor of Tifton, Georgia. I'm Hassel of the Nerdy Manroom Show, one half of your dynamic hosting duo. As you can see, the other half, Monster, he is not here because he is off being a very highly successful executive, and I'm thinking he's working for Cobra at this point. I'm not quite sure.
He's running the world.
He's either running the world or working for a terrorist organization.
To take over the world. Either way.
Or maybe Cobra the insurance, because they're even fucking worse.
They are worse.
But, however, we have some friends of the show here today. We got Mr. Mittens here. He's creepy as fuck. It's fine. And we got Big Rob, as always, ready to come back. And we have a special guest today, Mr. Daniel Garcia, who just done a meet and greet at our sponsor, The Zone, in Tifton, Georgia. If you didn't get down here earlier, get on down here now, and maybe you can catch us by the time we finish this podcast.
They got a couple issues left.
There's a handful of issues left and pin up, so they're getting scarce, folks. They're getting scarce. And you can also enter this really cool coloring contest that will be graded and judged by him. Really cool. There's the first issue. He signed. The ZOA's on the back. You can't get much cooler than that. Come on, guys. I mean,
and how much is it, Hassel?
Free.
Free.
$3.99 today, baby. He has got 9 days left on his Kickstarter, people, and it is fully funded. The tiers are amazing.
It's going to happen.
Yes, it is happening. He's got everything planned for the first 6 issues and beyond. We'll talk about that a little more later when he's in here. Right now, we're going to break out into a little news. Starting with sports, the Braves are still on a very cold and murky start. They defeated the Marlins last night, 3-0. They're still treading water. We'll get a few wins this weekend against the Marlins, but they're not doing so bueno. They're not doing so bueno. Going on into toy news, though. Super 7 Thundercats Wave 2 and 3. There's Mr. Minton's cousins. His cousins finally arrived in stores and online retailers and in my wallet. So yeah, it's been a very busy week of things that should have come out a year ago, but they're finally here, guys. So if you haven't pre-ordered them or wasn't like me, they're there and they're available now, and they're shipping. People are posting pictures that look great. Hasbro news: they just announced another price increase.
Nice.
Another one. We were just literally
we talked about this 2 months ago.
Yeah, maybe. Within the last 2 months, they announced the price increase. Well, now here we are again, and they've announced another price increase, all due to the fact that they have committed to not selling to Mother Russia.
Thank you, Putin.
So
because for making me spend more money.
Yeah, because of this deal that's going on, with the Ukraine, they punish us American collectors to show their unity for Ukraine. And no longer sell to Russia, so we get the foot the bill. So thanks, Obama.
Well, I mean, just because they ain't selling to them, don't mean that. I mean, just hold on to them. After it's all done, somebody might win.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
And if you wonder why I blame Obama, I blame Obama for Biden. Just so you know, we wouldn't have Creepy Joe without that.
Oh.
But they also just had Fan Fest Tuesday. They showed some really great figures. Spider-Man Wave looked great, but
Spider-Man Noir, I've got to have
Spider-Ham.
But you can have that.
Well, that was what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to address with you guys. Okay,
sure.
Not only you got the price increase, because the Null and Venom 2-pack, it's $80.
And it's amazing looking.
It does.
They look great.
And Venom has the wings, but they recycled the Venom. It is nothing more than a movie Venom body.
Okay.
With a different head and wings. I'm sure that does retooling for that.
I'm sure.
Noah looks great.
Yes.
He's got 2 heads, the Necro sword. Nice. It looks great. But here's the thing: it's the first of the windowless figure packaging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're gonna pay $80, and who knows what we're paying for Legends now? So I mean, because they were up to what?
They were up to
22 or 24.
No, yeah, 24.
So, okay, so
$25.
You can imagine they'll go to 26, $27 now
at least.
And you've got no window there. Like your collector that wants to keep this stuff MOC, you know, like myself, I buy them, I stick them on the wall.
It's hard to show off when there's no window to show.
Exactly. This isn't a '78 Kenner Millennium Falcon.
Right.
Where you're fine with a picture on the box.
Well, not only
you have a
that,
picture of your figure on the box. That's it. Not even really cool.
Which
artwork.
you can download from the Hasbro website.
Exactly.
You just print it out.
And that's what I worry about right there. Okay, we know most of in your retail stores, the guys working in these stock rooms that do the toy department, they're nerds like us.
Oh yeah.
So
that's why they have that job.
What do you think they're going to do when? How many times have you been to a store and you get in there and there's a Captain Marvel on the shelf that's not Captain Marvel, there's somebody else in there?
Well, that's less the guy in the stock room and more the guy that buys it and does a return, and the person at the return counter goes, "Yeah, it's a figure." And
how much easier is this going to be now for scammers? And
I'm not going to buy any of this stuff from Walmart. Walmart.com, maybe.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, how much easier is it for someone now to go
so
buy a bunch of figures, take them out, put some shit in there? You probably have to put a real figure back in there.
No.
You could just put something that feels weighted in there.
A couple of rocks.
I mean, I seen one the other day where someone opened a box and there was a Coke can and some paper in there.
Was the Coke can full? Because that might be okay.
I hope, because at least the guy Coke and a smile then.
Yeah, Coke and a smile.
No, that's Coke and anger, Coke and rage. Sugar-filled hate.
So you look like you know about Coke and rage.
That was a rage-filled smile that you have there, I'm going to say. So
I pulled the Skyrim card out. It's screaming.
Okay.
None of y'all know. None.
We do not know.
We do not.
But I know that y'all know if you're a Skyrim nerd.
Which is nobody.
Does this deter you from buying action figures now?
It deters me from buying them at Walmart.
So if you will continue to buy these action figures,
I'm going to have to be way more selective, especially if they hit $28, $30.
Do you keep them in pack?
I do anyway.
But you can't see the figure itself. How can you enjoy the figure if you can't at least see it?
That's true.
Because
that's their whole plan. Is they know
Mr. Groot here. We got him. Okay. You have this beautiful window here. You see the detail, because who doesn't like to pick your figure up, appreciate the detail of the figure, and stick it on the wall, you display.
Everybody.
Now, you've got this.
You have to buy two.
It's like, wow, that picture that I can look at online looks really fucking great. Wow.
You got a box?
I have a box.
That's it.
You have a box.
You have a box.
That could be filled with anything.
Yeah. Well, like Mr. Benton said, you buy two now, so you keep one in the box and you open one.
I already have this problem.
Right. And at $30 a pop.
Yeah, so I'm spending $60 for a Spider-Man to pose?
Yeah.
With all the podcasts and everybody knows the collectors that really like the stuff they want to be able to see it. So they're probably just rolling the dice hoping that you'll buy two of them where you'll have to open one and then
I think it's a hell of a gamble for Hasbro.
It's gotta be.
But I think McFarlane will probably prosper from this greatly because of the fact that
his stuff's still $20.
But it's not only is it still $20, it's great usually.
Oh, they look amazing. I love mine.
The posability may not be as great as a Hasbro or a Seamless.
I don't know, because I think about the box.
Well, you have the window.
You've got a window
where you can see it. Yeah, I mean, to me that's a make or break. It really is.
I got a feeling that Hasbro's going to rethink their strategy pretty quick. And
how much can they honestly be saving by cutting a little piece of plastic out?
They're saving the Earth.
I don't think they're.
We just celebrated Earth Day. Did you not celebrate it with us?
I did.
I set some shit on fire that day. It felt like it was.
Even with if it's just cardboards have the plastic line, the paint's on there. You're not saving anything.
You can recycle plastic just as well as you can.
Exactly.
That's right.
You just took jobs from recycling.
Yeah.
I did see some of the Transformers that has the little window, and you can kind of see the Transformers' faces. But again, that's all you can see. I can see this much of my Transformer that I just paid $20 for. I don't.
Oh, you bought a cheap Transformer at $20.
I didn't buy it. I seen it on the. But yeah, I agree.
I seen some the other day, and they had the full cardboard there, Coronation Starscream.
Yeah, but that one's gonna. Coronation Starscream's a big one.
Not really.
He's
not very big. The packaging is because it comes with all the.
Oh, okay.
The throne or whatnot.
I'm talking about the peg hangers.
Yeah,
the small ones.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Hey, you know your valid, pal. That's fine.
I just seen something different.
It's fine. We'll move on. I digress. we'll move into some comic news. We don't have a lot. But this is something that I know you guys already know my probably perspective on, so I'm going to run it by. Spider-Man is now teaming up with Norman Osborn. Not only teaming up, mind you, in this new title, Norman Osborn assigns Spider-Man's suit, and he now has a glider.
A spider glider?
Spider glider.
Nice. All they're doing is trying
Marvel, if you hadn't already thought of that, you owe me. You owe the Nerdy Manroom show, just saying. But where do you guys thought of
when is the double cross?
Right?
Obviously.
That's it.
But
I mean, depending on the circumstances as to why they're teaming up, is, you know, there are always reasons why you can, you know, enemy of my enemy is my friend. But
short term.
Yeah.
But if he's developing tech for Spider-Man, that doesn't seem real short term.
Well, that's leading. When is the double cross? Has Parker looked in the computer system, make sure there isn't any backdoors that can hurt or harm him and everything else, or see where he.
Well, when Tony Stark built a suit for him, he was literally tracking his spider sense, knew all about his powers and abilities that Peter had told no one about. So if Tony Stark got by him, you think Norman won't? And that's my thing on this right here. It's one thing to, okay, we have no choice but to team up,
right,
to battle this entity.
Okay,
that happens. Yeah, you can kind of enemy of my enemy is my friend. But when you start getting into, okay, I'll take your tech and wear it, and it looked kind of cool.
Okay.
But
Parker already has his own tech.
Oh, exactly. He had his own Parker Industries for a while, even though he screwed that up.
I was gonna say,
Doc Ock screwed it up for him, but still.
Now I haven't read anything in forever, but didn't Peter lose the Spider-Man identity?
Beyond Industries.
Beyond or somebody
actually owns it, which is why Ben Reilly was Spider-Man.
Right. Okay.
And he was telling him and Miles Morales to stop for some time.
So maybe that's the enemy. Maybe Beyond. Maybe Spider-Man, the perennial penniless superhero, needs Norman's deep pockets.
Well, something along this new line. It's what did Peter do? Not what did Spider-Man do? What did Peter do?
Oh, okay.
And it is a big thing where it shows him like in this crater, in the middle of nowhere, and everything's kind of blown up around him. He's battle damaged.
Okay.
So that's really the only teaser. It's John Romita Jr. is coming back. He's going to be on the book. I mean, so you got to get it. But I'm just, I can't.
I may have to.
I can't stand the fact that I just don't. Peter is the ultimate hero. He always has been.
Yeah.
He believes in saving people. But even by now, he's been snake bit by Norman so many times to where he doesn't even go, you know what, this man's irredeemable. I don't want to kill you. I want to keep you facilitated, locked up, and my eyes on you at all times so that I know where you are.
You think he's given up on Norman completely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I will take your word.
Unless it's a deal.
With a snake bite.
We had Mr. Garcia. He has showed up, and we were about to tag out. No, we're finishing news, so we're about to tag out. But
we don't have Monster here to keep us on time, so
yeah, Monster keeps us on the rails. Okay, when you get back, we'll ask your take on what we're discussing.
Okay,
right now.
You got it.
So,
I'll be right back.
But yeah, I think that unless it's a deal where Harry just died again.
So many times, he's probably needs immunity. He's built up an immunity. That's what.
The only thing that was semi-makes sense to me is they just done a storyline where the clone of Harry, or who they thought was Harry, it was actually a clone since the 90s when Harry died.
Oh, no, not
everything since the 90s, Harry Osborn was a clone.
Okay.
And he wound up being a villain that's tied through Stopheles, because apparently Norman Osborn sold the soul of Harry Osborn.
Yeah, Harry got the short end of the stick.
He sold his son's soul. Okay. So
I
I don't know if maybe he's like Norman's trying to seek redemption because of this right here, but I don't see Peter forgiving him. I can tell you right now.
Peter's got a soft spot where Harry's concerned, so maybe he did at least. I don't know. Again,
you know what?
To touch.
I love Mr. Minton's father to death, but he sells Mr. Minton's soul, and I find out that my friend of the last 20 years has been a damn clone. I don't know if I'm on the side up with him.
Okay, but if you're signing up with him to redeem Harry's soul,
He's dead. What are you redeeming?
ain't nobody dead in comics except Uncle Ben. Nobody stays
Too
dead.
soon.
Oh,
It
okay.
is. It is. Please
Yeah.
tell me you've seen the meme where Peter's like robbing Uncle Ben as he's dying. He's like, Peter, what are you doing? He said, but you don't need it. Yeah, that's kind of humor you get on this show, guys.
Hey.
We're sorry.
That's highbrow for this show.
It is. It is. You should see behind the scenes, people. So
We're not sorry.
we're not sorry. Not at all. We've had a great day, guys.
It's been a pretty wonderful day.
Huge meet and greet here at the Zone. I mean, we're live in the new multimedia center at the Zone that Kev has put together. If you had never come down to the Zone and met Mr. Kevin and Ken Plady, you're doing yourself
And
a great.
Alex.
And Alex, yeah, he's now the store runner.
So
You're
many
doing
little
yourself.
rabbit holes to run down.
Doing
They've
yourself a
got
huge
everything
disservice. They're quality people. They'll do whatever they can for you. Yeah, they don't have it.
You can see they will find it.
Yes, we are literally everywhere you look. There is something. There is not an inch of this place in his warehouse that is not
Awesome.
very much.
I used to love those.
He literally still has people.
Yes.
And in case you didn't know it, Mr. Mitten's here. He is a recovering HeroClix addict.
It's a sore subject.
We've met some really great people here today. Thanks everybody that has come out. Looks like the special guest is here, so I'm going to tag out since I'm taking up most of the frame anyway.
Now I get to get most of the frame.
That's right.
And pet Mr. Mittens. See? He's feral, people. He's feral.
Support the Thank you.
All right. We have the guest of honor here, Mr. Garcia. You didn't expect that you started the day that you get to pet a human feral cat.
No,
did you?
once a week I get to. No,
Once a week?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
I enjoy it.
we'll run this by you. We've been shooting the shit about it for a while now. In comic news,
Comics.
okay, Norman Osborn is now aligned with Spider-Man and has just designed not only Peter's new outfit, but a spider glider.
Okay.
What is your thoughts on that?
So, wasn't Dr. Octopus Spider-Man for a while, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, sir.
So, nothing really shocks me anymore, I guess.
That's true.
Only because I think that over the past 50 years of Spider-Man, I guess that stories have to evolve. And it becomes probably more and more, it becomes increasingly difficult to write the same thing again and again. So to me, I think it's actually pretty neat because I haven't read it, but depending on how they spun it and does it make sense, I guess it's pretty cool. I think I'm okay with it. I know that he's one of his original arch nemesis. It's kind of like the Joker aligning with Batman. That I couldn't see at all. Maybe I think that'd be kind of weird.
It's even hard to read that for one issue like they have to go against someone.
Yeah.
But for a multiple, and I'm going to assume when you have a change of costume of Spider-Man, typically nowadays, that's at least 6 to 12 issues.
Mm.
Unless they're just needing a bump and hope for like a 2-issue boost to sales.
This is very, very possible. This is very possible.
Yeah.
I just don't see Peter trusting him. Not to the point of putting his tech on.
I don't think he's going to do without a lot of checking, and maybe you put your tech on me, I put my tech on you, kind of vice versa, integrated circuitry.
Has anybody read it yet?
No, they just announced the teaser
Okay.
this week. This is all this week's stuff. Matter of fact, it was Thursday or Friday I saw this. But
I guess it just depends on the. I think you're bringing up a great point too. Both of you bring up great points. Like how does it fall into the story? What are they? Why? Right. So why is it happening? And just kind of seeing how it plays out. Now, Norman Osborn, if I'm not mistaken, I thought Norman and him were at one point student and teacher, right? In the original stories. How do they know one another?
Okay, Harry and Peter were best friends. They were actually roommates in college,
Mhm.
and because throughout high school and whatnot, and that's kind of how he got a line through them. And Norman was familiar with him, and then they become.
But Norman was never
He was never really a mentor to him.
not a mentor to him.
I mean, he always saw him as being something. It was more happy to have him than Harry, because Harry was a disappointment, and he would have liked to have groomed him into an heir, but
Let's see how
Doc Ock was more the men. They did actually kind of have that.
They had more the
relationship.
mentor-student relationship.
Yeah, him and the Lizard both.
Which I thought was really neat. I think that's one of the things that sets Spider-Man apart from a lot of the heroes and the villain dynamic is that they're at some point it's someone that he knows, so it makes it almost personal for him. Like the relationship between him and J. Jonah Jameson, where he hates Spider-Man, right? Or he did. I'm not sure. They still hate him. He still hates him now, but that dynamic I thought was interesting because he worked for the guy, right? He worked for the Daily Bugle, but in the meanwhile, J. Jonah Jameson's like, I hate Spider-Man. Like, someone bring me a picture of him doing something bad. You can't make that stuff up. It's just that's great, So I think that all the majority of Spider-Man's villains and see, to me, Spider-Man was always about Peter Parker.
Yeah.
It was never about Spider-Man. It was about Peter and his life, and then everything that happened around him.
How chaotic it became due to his responsibilities of
being
Spider-Man.
I think that's great. So, like Batman, it's not really about Bruce Wayne. It's about Batman, but it's about his thirst for justice. And you could say the same thing about a myriad of other heroes, but Spider-Man is cool because of that.
Would you say that's probably one of the things that Marvel done so much better than DC, at least initially? What was you focused more like Fantastic Four was family. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, the Avengers used to have a group dynamic. They focused more on the actual person and their real life problems, to where DC was just all superhero with the sideline of alter ego.
The alter ego, yeah. I think Marvel did that right. I mean, and if you look at like the Marvel, like the majority of the Marvel heroes are scientists, or they're geniuses of some sort, or they've had something go wrong that has made their life what it is now as heroes. So I think it makes it more interesting.
Okay.
Monster's chiming in.
Monster, he is being executive producer from afar, and he has said that Norman Osborn did have his sins and psychosis removed. Okay, moral compass reset by Kendra, which was the evil clone of Harry. And all right then.
See that?
Thanks, Monster. See, you keep us on the rails even when you're not here, buddy.
That was what I was wondering. Has there been something where Norman has changed, and Peter, being Peter, is going to be like, there's always hope for people.
I think that is one of the things that sets Peter apart from other heroes. He doesn't really give up. He always he's the hopeless romantic optimist that just says, hey.
That's why I took all of you from that game.
Yeah, she's slutting around town for years.
It's a hole. Turn a hole for the house.
Never. Unless it's Big Rob. I turn her in a lot.
Damn right.
But while we're here, we're gonna dive on in.
Yeah.
And we just had your very first meet and greet, man. How are you feeling right now?
The people of Tifton, Georgia, everyone that I've run into so far has been just great, just polite, and excited. And I was a little nervous, flying in yesterday. I'm like, oh man, like what the hell am I? Like, I'm just some dude that just created a comic book.
Pretty badass comic.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. And just Kevin here at the Zone, and obviously you guys have been fantastic. Meeting Rob and everybody has been just it's been great. So I've had a blast. And Carrie, the girl that I'm with, who's kind of my traveling companion, is afraid of flying, by the way.
Oh wow!
Petrified of flying.
So she faced some real fears.
So she did, man. She was not to make this about her, but she
totally not about her. This is the guy right here.
No, I'm kidding. But she really, in all seriousness, she really.
Alcohol.
She really faced her fears when we were getting on the plane yesterday. Before getting on the plane, she says, "I think I need a shot or something."
That's what I'm talking about right there.
I said it's like an hour to Georgia, to Atlanta, then another 40 minutes to where we're going. You're gonna be okay. So, we watched. She watched The Watch,
Okay.
the movie, and I watched Spawn. So
Hey,
it made the time pass.
man, that's what's up right there.
In between that, we fell asleep on the plane too, so we both were out like a light.
So no shots.
So it was no shots, no shots. But tomorrow, maybe, yeah. But listen, it's been awesome. It's a culture change for me, not a shock, but a change coming from South Florida, where it's a lot more people, a lot of different attitudes and personalities. Where here, it just seems like everyone's just people are saying hello to me on the street and was good morning. I'm watching my wallet. I'm like, is this person gonna rob me? What's going on right now?
That's something I've always said for years. Like, you can tell when you go from Georgia to the Florida line. It's like when we pass each other in the store, what's up? You nod, you wave, whatever.
Say hello. Yeah.
You get down to Florida, and you can tell time you hit. Like, we're always there. Like, when we're traveling down, we'll stop at the store.
Yeah.
You got a piss, you get something to drink, whatever. You see a little old lady, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
They get this look.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he's
right.
gonna mug me. He's like,
Right.
especially me, I'm like,
You're a big
6'4",
dude,
3
right,
bills,
yeah.
and got tattoos. I mean, people see me like,
Yes.
I'm really nice. I'm an asshole, but I'm kind of nice, It's
Kevin and I were walking down the street a couple hours ago to go to another comic shop in the area, and he's polite as can be. He's like, "Oh, since you're here, let me go introduce you to this guy." And I'm like, "Oh man, it's really nice of you." And some lady drove by in her car waving at me, and I'm like, "Is this a drive-by?" I'm like, "A shot." But no, but listen, everyone's been fantastic. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
You
It's
also
been great.
got to think there are different versions of yourself everywhere. So she could have thought you were somebody she knew. You're just not the South Georgia one.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, we have a human murderous Thundercat sitting beside us. I mean, it's
What? Yeah, I mean, I guess expect unexpected. I guess is what. No, but yeah, like I said, everyone's been great. So thanks, guys, for the invite.
Outstanding. So, Xyber Ronin, it's funded now.
Funded.
We're ready to go. And you got 9 days left if you do want to back it, though. You got 9 days. There's some amazing tiers out there.
Yeah.
You're actually doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't, because he has stacked them to the point to where it benefits us fans more than himself. So
I've tried.
go fund this book. But we know a little bit about Xyber Ronin. What can you tell us about your other new book, Atomic Bound?
So the idea behind Xyber was originally to continue with the series. And I think that for anybody out there who's aspiring to do comics in their life, right, it's a crazy business, by the way. And first off, you want to surround yourself with people who are helpful, right, and that you can kind of trust to get out there and help you with your vision. So I've surrounded myself with some pretty good artists, not pretty good, some great artists, and also with some great just people in general. So my idea was to do that first and to build a fan, what I call a fan base, right? Because it's kind of still surreal for me that people like what I'm doing, right? So like I'm not arrogant or I'm
Being humble.
Yeah, I'm a pretty humble guy. I'm not one of these people that are out there. And maybe it's the wrong approach, but that's just my approach. So anyway, my original idea was first surround myself with people that I could trust, that could do the work, that were as passionate as I am about it. And then to publish books throughout the course of the year, but keeping in mind that once this Kickstarter ends, I got to fill all the orders.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to get that done before my deadline. So the biggest hang up I'm going to have right now is probably just the colors and the letters, which shouldn't be a problem. As soon as I'm all done with Kickstarter, we'll continue having that done. But my original idea was to publish books. So the next title, as you mentioned before, was Atomic Bound. And I'm thinking, okay, what would be? I love vampires, right? Who doesn't, right? Right. Vampires are awesome. Werewolves are cool. Anything underworld related in terms of like monsters, right? I'm like, okay, what would be really cool for a vampire book that's not your typical femme fatale book, but still keeping within the Xyber Ronin universe, so I could use cybernetics and robotics and all that fun stuff. I'm like, a cybernetic vampire. I've never seen a cybernetic vampire. Have you guys ever seen?
I haven't.
I have not seen a cybernetic vampire yet, or a cyborg vampire. So then, actually, Carrie and I were coming up with the idea, and she's like, "Oh, this would be cool. Why don't you do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's good." So we kind of collaborated on it a little bit, and then I had someone draw it. Dana Black actually drew it for me first. He's
Very
like,
good artist.
"Oh, Dana's awesome. Check him out on Facebook, by the way. Dana Black. He's great. He's a great guy too." He draws it for me. He's like, "What do you think of this?" I'm like, "This is perfect." So I give it to another artist, to Ariel Medell, who's a great artist also. I give it to Ariel, and Ariel goes, "I can run with this." And he ran with it from there. And then now she's a murderous vampire, cybernetic vampire who works.
The art, the splash page is amazing.
Oh yeah. He just did he did
great.
the recent image he did, and a gentleman by the name of Gustavo, who goes by I believe he goes by Yen Nitro on Facebook, who's an amazing colorist. Just got a job with Marvel. Starts on the 25th. He colored it for me, and I'm like, holy crap, this looks great. I'm looking, and like one day when I posted, so she's a part of this team of clandestine killers that would travel the world doing the bidding of their employer, and I called them the Horde. Right, kind of like a reminiscent of She-Ra. Remember She-Ra and the Horde?
Hordak, man.
So, yeah, there you go, man. So I figured, let me call it something cool. So Ariel draws it. This guy Yen Nitro colors it. I got like 100 likes within like a 12-hour period.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit, I've never had 100 likes for anything before. I'm like giving pictures of me and my kids. Like, I got 100 likes. So
kids, you got to step that game up a little bit.
So anyhow, that's going to be the next project. And then I have some other, like I said to you before, Hassel, I'm trying to surround myself with people that love books as much as love comics and love creating as much as I do. So both for Cyber and for this book that's coming out, I have some amazing artists, some amazing colorists on that too. So it'll be good. And I'll put out some more content as soon as I get more Cyber stuff done.
Yeah, anyone that's not on, you need to check his page out. Like he's very active on Facebook. He's very active on Instagram. Yeah. You know, Dan Garcia on Facebook. D Garcia Comics with an X.
Got it, man.
On Instagram. Check him out on there. He interact with you. He's very, very nice guy.
Thank you.
So well, tell us about the name of your publishing now.
So I LLC'd myself under Cyber Comics. That's my LLC. But I figured the publishing house could still be Dan, which stands for Daniel, last name Garcia. Right? So Dan, and then G is G. And I was like, oh, as a kid, you use the word, you're like, oh, dang, that's cool, right? So,
yeah.
And I figured, hey, those are my initials. So, like, I might as well put it. So I called the publishing studio, right? I know it's kind of passe. Everyone had one of those in the 90s. But I figured Dan Comics, the LLC of it is really Cyber Comics, because that's what wasn't taken. Dan Comics is actually taken somewhere out there. Someone took my stuff. Yeah, dancomics.com, and someone took it. So it's still under Dan. I'm still working with people under that name, but the LLC goes under Cyber Comics. So,
well, I know you well enough to know that by now your wheels are always turning.
Every day, man.
So we've got 2 announced books.
Yes.
How many more do you got in the back of your brain do you see in this shared universe?
Well, you and I are talking about some stuff, right? And Dana Black and I are talking about some stuff. And then Maiku, the artist on Xyber Ronin now, just a couple days ago says to me, oh, hey, so, are you going to publish books going forward? I'm like, that's my idea, right? And he's like, I got something for you too. I said, flush it out and give it to me. So I'm hoping that by mid-year next year, we have Xyber Ronin 2 and 3, Atomic Vamp, at least the first 2 issues done. Whatever you and I got going on right now, I want to introduce your characters as well into our story. And then whatever Maiku has happening. I don't want to spread myself too thin, just because a lot of this stuff, as you guys know, could be expensive. So, but it's my hobby.
But you also want to let the fans kind of sink their teeth in and really start building passion for your kickoff guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're like I told you before, we're just trying to get the best people to do the best work possible. So we don't want to produce anything half-assed. Everything we want to do is going to be top shelf as much as possible. So to compete with the other independents out there, and look, there's a lot of great books out there. One of the things that I think slows down the Kickstarters and crowdfunding and Indiegogo is that you have so many competing books out there that are just as good, if not better, than what we have going on. And listen, it's good for them. I'm not hating on what they're doing. Good for them. I'm happy that they're making the money. I encourage it. But a lot of times, I think it's about timing when you get yourself out there and come up with something professional.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, on this Kickstarter page, man, it took me days to get it right. And even now, still, Kevin from the Zone kicks my butt. He's like, "Man, you wrote this all wrong. You gotta go back and rewrite this stuff." I'm like, "I can't." He's like, "So it's okay. Next Kickstarter, we'll figure it out."
So that's the thing. Like Monster, he keeps us where we need to be, and so he's sort of missed when he's not here. That's kind of what Kevin's doing for you, because I mean, sometimes creative people, we need a buffer,
a handler.
Yes, like okay, go here.
Yes,
put your horse blinders.
Right. Listen to one thing at a time. Yeah. Listen to one thing.
It's because I know it can be very, for me at least, chaotic. Sometimes I get the thing like,
yeah.
I'm sharing how to. Mr. Mittens is a little worse than I, but
just a little.
Yeah,
I've been messing around with everything in this place today. I'm digging in the bins.
He's missing Mr. Mittens here. I'm gonna give him a pat or two. So with that being said, past, present, and future, what kind of got you into comics?
So I know that on our first interview I kind of touched on like my childhood, I guess, like growing up. We didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, and not trying to be a sob story or whatever story you want to call it, but or looking for pity or sympathy. But as a kid, we didn't have a lot. So like both my parents worked, I don't know, 2 jobs each or something just to keep food on the table. My dad had just come home from the Marines, and so we didn't have a lot. So one of my outlets was comic books, right? Because back then the comic book was like 75 cents or something. You sold comics or so
straight with a little change,
super cheap. And we'd run through the in the city that we lived in Miami. There were bodega, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a bodega is, but it's like a one-stop shop. You have food in there, usually owned by like a mom and pop, big Latino community, and they had a spinner rack with comics on it. Remember those old spinner racks that you had the comics on them at the local 7-Eleven? And I saw one, and it was I want to say it was Captain Carrot, or maybe even been Contest of Champions back in the 80s.
Oh wow!
Remember Contest of Champions? All right. So I'm like, I walk by it and I see this colorful design of coolness, right? And I'm like, oh, I gotta have one of these. So I pick it up and I'm thumbing through it, and next thing you know, I'm outside with this thing in my hand, and I'm so enthralled by it, right? My mom turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Did you pay for that?" And I'm like, "No, I paid for it. I forgot to pay for it. I got a beating of my life, right?" So, so she would go back inside, and then we paid for the book, and whatever, man. I fell in love with books ever since then, and it was my escape. When you're a kid living in a crappy neighborhood, you can't go outside. It's like you're stuck indoors. And then as my parents got better jobs, we were able to move into better neighborhoods. But I was hooked, man. That was it. I was hooked on comics. And then I didn't know anything about bags or boards. That didn't exist. I didn't know anything about that stuff. Bags and boards.
You're not allowed to go back inside and just kick yourself in the ass on some books.
Are you kidding me, man? I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, the original one. I bought it at a store. I had the original first printing of that book. Don't know what happened to it. But I did buy a second printing of #1. I still have that one in my collection. But yeah.
I remember Monster was like the first person I remember that had bags and boards on his books. And I was like, man, this shit's getting us away. What are you doing? We can't read these books.
Want to fold it
like you have to peel everything back and like he's like, oh, you got some white gloves there?
Yeah, right.
We gotta don't fold it all the way out.
But yeah, that's how I got into comics. And then it just became a martial arts were a big thing for me too as a kid, learning how to defend myself. The schools that I went to were really bad. So I was probably one of the only Latino kids in the whole school, so it was a very ethnic school, which is cool, it's great, but it was tough being like one of the only Latino kids in the school. You make your friends wherever you can, and who are my friends? They're the nerds. They're all the kids that like the stuff that I liked, right? And then that was a big passion of mine too as a kid growing up, was martial arts too. That kind of translates over into comics because you have your heroes that do martial arts, right? So it was like you can kind of Daredevil was like one of my favorites as a kid. Wolverine, obviously. And then I think that the older you get, and the better you do in your career, then you're able to kind of expand on your ideas, you know, and having someone like my girl, like Carrie, having her by my side too has helped too, because she sees my vision, and she's like, I'm gonna help you however I can to keep doing what you're doing.
So do you still collect today? And if you do, is it cards, is it comics, is it figures?
Yeah, so I think I stopped collecting from a serious, going to a store every week and buying my usual books. I stopped doing that probably about 10 years ago. There was I think a paradigm and shift in comics, real polarizing from where it was about the heroes and what they were doing and how it was like their struggles, to, you know, all the crap you have going on now with making your political statements and like. But listen, that's each his own. I don't care. It's fine. But it made me change my perspective on comics. So personally, I like collecting graphic novels now. So I'll collect graphics of older stuff, and if I like an artist, then I'll buy a graphic of that book that he did. But yeah, I think comics have just changed for me over the years.
Well, the comics are supposed to be an escape from the real world. I mean, you don't want to read what's going on in the real world in your comic books. I don't want that in my Avengers. I mean, yeah.
No. I mean, you know, it's changed so much. Listen, man. Again, to each his own.
Yeah.
You know, to each his own agenda. I'm no one to judge. You know, I got 2 daughters that I don't want anybody judging them or whatever. You know, and I have my own life, so I don't want anybody judging me. So I don't do this. I don't do it either. But for me, as you mentioned before, comics were supposed to be an escape. I'm reading about someone else's life, doing something that's going to affect humanity in that way. That's awesome. But, you know, when you started getting into, you know, who was what color, race, or gender, or whatever, like, I'm like, man, like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, just don't push it on me. Let me read my comics. Like, let me just
get punched in the face by that guy.
Yeah, I want to see a cosmic blast and radiation just shoot
I want to
somebody.
see a good guy versus a bad guy, and like why they're doing it. Like, don't push it on me. If it's subtle in the background, awesome. But don't show it down my throat.
So are you ever like into like most kids in the 80s and 90s got really big into comic cards?
Oh yeah. X-Men.
That was like currency for us in school.
Oh, my girl's got all the. I want to say she has a whole set of Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, sweet.
So, and I'm like, hey, you gotta hang on to that. I think she has a whole set. X-Men cards to me were, remember the old Marvel cards?
I do. But had the stats on the back, and you like
stats on the back.
You didn't like gauge each hero against, like, you know, this sucker here, he's like smarter than you.
Right. Yeah.
So you had to see where they were at on the spectrum, or strength, or
complete sets of Marvel 1, 2, 3,
Marvel, the sets.
Marvel Masterpiece.
Joe Jusko did a lot of the.
Yes.
He did a lot of those cards.
And you wasn't serious business if you didn't have it in the binder.
The binder with the sleeves, and you put the pages, and I would have them all, and then you're right, and then I would go through it and go, oh, I'm missing one.
These right here, you can, like, this one doesn't do it, but like on the
most of them where they would form a picture. There was a Spider-Man set.
There was an X-Men one that was
Jim
Lee.
X-Men and Spider-Man set that just the two of them were like amazing.
I have those somewhere. I don't know where they are. They're amongst my collection of comics, but I have an entire folder, a whole binder with them all in it. So yeah,
I have the bulk of the Spider-Man set still left because Mark Bagley done the artwork, and I was a huge Mark Bagley fan. Like, love
Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through like 100 he did it.
Yeah. Well, he done a lot of the stuff in the 90s too. Like a lot of your Carnage and Venom art from the earlier days was Mark Bagley starting out.
Yeah.
Which is where he gained a lot of most of their characters gained a lot of their, and he had done a really great Spider-Man back then. I loved it. I mean, it's
like Eric Larson when he did Spider-Man was fantastic. Yes. So was Todd McFarlane. It was different for a change. Or the old Romita stuff, the old Gil Kane stuff, still stands true for me. Like the issue with don't quote me. I think I may have been Romita Jr. or Romita Sr. Sorry, who drew when the Juggernaut fought Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I think it was either Gil Kane or Romita Sr.
Junior drew that.
Okay, one of my favorite issues of all time. I mean, what an amazing book.
He hadn't changed his style at the time. He still drew a lot like his father back then. Because if you notice, he drew very, very close to what his dad drew for a long time. Then he changed his style, I forget, maybe in the early 90s. Somewhere along the way in the early 90s.
Great stuff, though.
Oh gosh,
I'd
yes.
say my favorite little series was from with McFarlane.
Torment.
Is that one? Is that the name of it?
That's when he started it.
And
He started it. Oh, yeah, he
Wolverine.
made it. It was Amazing Spider-Man #1, wasn't it? Or just
Yeah,
Spider-Man?
I think the what he's talking about is there was like a little
It's
storyline
6
called because they had Wendigo, they had
Wolverine,
Wolverine, and Lizard was in it as well.
That's right. Yeah, that was good stuff. Yeah,
That
that was
was-
McFarlane.
Yeah,
And because it was you still have Spider-Man being Spider-Man, but it was on the darker side because it's a messed up stuff.
that's where Mary Jane started slutting around a little bit, like you were talking about a while ago. Like they was actually that dynamic in the book where like she was off with her model friends doing things, and Peter's off, kind of sad sack.
Yeah, he's that second for sure.
It is Mr. Mitten's weakness, a redhead.
Mary Jane Watson. Yeah. She's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, where do you see comics in about 20 years?
Well, I hope to think that they're still printing them, because to me, there's nothing like holding a comic in my hand.
Stan Lee approach.
I don't mind thumbing through on my phone or on my iPad. I don't mind thumbing through comics, but to me, I don't know how you guys feel. There's nothing like holding a comic book in your hand and being able to thumb through it and read it as many times as you want. I'd hope to think that in 20 years we're still printing comics. I know that over the years, Marvel and DC and Image have stopped doing that. But I think that we'll probably see more independent books and more Indiegogos, more Kickstarters, more enter crowdfunding name here. I think we'll probably see a lot more of that happening in the next 5 to 10 years. So because it's become easier, and I had this conversation with an artist the other day, it's become a lot more simple to find an artist to draw for you. Printing a book is not as expensive as it was, let's say, in the 90s. So I would anticipate that independent comics will make a big splash in the next 5 years or so, maybe 4 to 5 years, and then who knows? Maybe Marvel will wisen up, DC will wisen up, and we'll see a resurgence of something coming from them that will make people go, "Oh, okay, I like comics now."
So you're seeing a lot of your big creators move away from the big two and do their own thing because they have a lot more creative freedom and a lot more, creativity in theirs.
Yeah,
They don't have to worry about Marvel and DC doing all this stuff they're doing lately with their character.
Look at Mike Diodato. He went off and did his own thing. And I think like 2 years ago, a year ago or so, it was pre-pandemic. He came out and said, "Hey, I'm sad to say goodbye to Marvel, but I'm going to start doing my own stuff. And it's been a great run." And I love that guy's stuff. That guy's fantastic. He's like the closest thing to like an Alex Ross in terms of like the surrealism of his characters and the way they look. And then you saw him leave. So yeah,
He's a Van Sciver. I mean, his political aspects aside, great artist, and he's a wonderful human being. We met him once or twice, and a great guy when you're not talking politics. But I mean, he's won't do anything for the big two anymore. He only does his own thing, and talking about the media as the paper to the digital. I think Stan Lee said it best. He likes his comics like he likes his boobs. They're better in his hand than on the screen. So I mean, hey,
so
you can't dispute that.
I'd like to see that. I'll give an example. So my daughters are a little older now, but my oldest, Sonic, was a huge thing for her. Stephen Butler Sonic comics. She loved that stuff. And now she finds stuff online and reads it, right? And I said, "Well, what about going to a store and buying Sheila's manga also?" And she's like, "No, I just find it online." I'm like, you're killing me. Like that's the, you're not giving back to the
today's generation. I don't think know what it's
community.
like to truly go to a comic store, the atmosphere, conversing with other fans, browsing around, and that's where you stumble upon things. You're like when you go online, it's like you go straight to what you're looking for. Yeah. You got it. You go. Yeah. How do you expand and find new forms of outlets of media
comic store
that you wouldn't have unless you go to the comic store? You start thinking, "Oh shit, this cover looks
comic convention." Yeah, comic convention. Yeah, so like I would encourage anybody that wants to get into comics or that likes comics. Now that we're seeing I'm not trying to get political, but now that we're seeing a drop in the stats of the COVID virus and people are starting to do Comic Cons again. If you want to get out there, support your local comic shop, support your local convention, and get out there. And like you said, man, it's like it's nothing like walking through a con and seeing the dozens of creators and finding what you want and saying, "Oh, hey, this comic book looks cool. Well, let me look at this real quick and then support something like that." Or go play a pen an RPG. Go play a pen and paper RPG. Go play Dungeons and Dragons. Go support. I think that from my own perspective again, comic books, creations, artistic developments have no. It's there's no race, there's no culture, there's no color associated to it. It's for everybody. Anybody can pick up a comic book and find what they want, and there's no bias behind it. You could be anybody coming into a comic store and buying whatever you want and finding your niche. That's awesome. That's what I think makes comics great. It makes comic great.
You'd be surprised at the things you meet through a comic store. I mean, you just
And if you like talking about going to a con, if you are worried about it, you can always wear a mask.
Yeah, you can
And
always.
then that is a whole different offshoot of friends there. Whenever you get there and you are into like the cosplay and stuff,
Right.
That is a whole different fan base right there.
Complete whole subgenre.
And it just goes on with the comics, but comics, movies, anime, manga, everything.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think it's also within the confines of maintaining that respect for each other, right? Because I've seen some cons where, I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I went to a con and I met the original creator of Green Lantern.
wow.
He was an older gentleman at the time, so I mean, I was in my 20s, so it was a long time ago. And there's some kids walking away from where he was at the table, where he was sitting, and they said something really nasty as they were walking off, like, "Oh, look at this old geezer trying to peddle Green Lantern." And I was like, "Hey," I was like, "No, that's not nice,
Wow.
like this guy's here, like doing his thing, like don't be rude." And they're like, "Oh," they dismissed me and walked away. So I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey man, it's such a pleasure to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, thank you, you're such a nice young man." He handed me a Green Lantern power ring. I still have that power ring, by the
Oh,
way.
wow.
Yeah, and he gave it to me. I still have it at the house somewhere. But within a certain respect, the confine of being respectful to each other, I think that we could enjoy comics.
He is a very nice guy. We met him at Maker Con years ago, and I've got a plaque at the house or a piece of art paper. It's got several of the various characters he's done. There's Green Lantern, there's a Silver Age Flash on there, and some other things. I think it's autographed my son, if I'm not mistaken. It's in my closet still to this day. But he was super nice gentleman. You'll be surprised at the creators that you'll meet there. Just even if you don't buy nothing, they'll shoot the shit with you sometimes.
That's
And
right.
just you're walking by, you're glancing. They're hoping if nothing else, even if you don't buy something from them, maybe you get piqued enough interest to where you'll get into the whatever they're working on later.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you'd be surprised at things that you're just going, "Oh man, that's cool," and you go on, and then later on you're like, "Man, I wish I'd picked that up." And then you go,
Yeah. You research it. You gotta find it. Yeah. I think it's a blurred line. It's a blurred line between against the diversities I think that are out there. I think it's blurred. There is no line. It doesn't exist. I think it's comics are for everybody. So and I think it's great. It's just all together.
Well, that being said, we're going to go into Monster's favorite section of the show, Nerd Out.
All right. So,
This is where we ask each other random questions. We don't know what each other's questions are.
Okay.
It's on the fly.
Okay.
I'm going to shoot first since I'm the star of the show.
you all stars.
Nah, honestly.
Yeah.
But, okay. You can play in any sandbox. Marvel, DC, Image, Dang, whoever.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to change what Doctor Who can't, a fixed point in history. Completely do away with it, change it, recreate it how you want. What book are you working on, and what fixed point are you tweaking, changing, or erasing?
Any sandbox. So
Any sandbox.
anything at all. Yeah. Probably. So I go right to Superman for some reason. Superman, when I think it was around the time of when he died, and I think the way that he was brought back.
The Reign of Superman.
Yeah, Yeah, when he was brought back, I thought that was a little. So two things, I think. One is he died, which I thought was cool. I understand why they did it, right? The shock factor at the time, I think Image Comics was doing really, really well.
They were.
You know, the big two were doing not too great, so they're like, we got it. Let's just kill Superman off, right? Let's do this.
That was the thing to do.
This ought to generate some interest. I think I would probably change the story of how he came back to something a little different. I can't tell you how I would, but I would probably change that story around just a little and tweak it some, and maybe not have killed him off. I think killing him off was cool, but I don't know. I wouldn't have killed him off. I think I got one for you. Okay, I got a better one for you. Captain America. And I know that the writer at the time for this caught a lot of flack, but when he was like the whole Hail Hydra thing.
Steve.
Okay, I would change that. I would change.
Okay.
That. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I thought that, again, you're jumping a shark with the shark.
I was not
with the shock value of that. I think
man,
it was like I think they could have thought of something a little better. So,
What
Does
you got?
it have to be comic or can it be movie?
Now we're sticking with the world of comics. We got a comic creator here today. We're blessed. We're sticking in the world of comics, mittens.
Hi, Mom.
I'm
I'm on watching this better.
Hey, Miss Garcia. I apologize for my language. It's Mr. Mitten's fault.
Call him. Call him. I am innocent. Innocent.
You just answered the question.
Most of mine, I can't off the top of my head think of points in time I would change, except for just keeping certain comics going.
Okay.
And most of it's not due to them just ending a storyline, it's just them going elsewhere, giving up on it. Pit and Battle Chasers. Those two right there, I wish they would have kept going.
Okay.
So I think that brings up a good question then. So why do you think I was talking to one of the Zone's, I guess, normal customers, great young man, and we're talking about how stories stay around. For example, Savage Dragon or even Spawn. Like those two guys they're in it. Like that's their book. Like they are in that. Like that's gonna be like their baby. They're gonna die with that. You know. So I think the Battle Chasers that may have just been
Joe Madrera.
Thank you. Maybe it was just a thing for him where he's like, oh, this is cool, and then all of a sudden he does like what you and I were saying. He's like, oh look, it's a squirrel, right? And then suddenly you focus on.
He got into video games real big for a while. He was designing a lot of things for video games.
So what makes someone do that? What makes somebody drop a title that's The Pit? That was a fantastic book. Neil Kiln, he killed it. He murdered
it. He was the Hulk artist for me.
He was the Hulk artist.
The one issue where he gets shot in the side of his face, and the comic, one side of his face is nothing but muscle and blood, the other, and he's just smiling big.
Yeah.
That right there, I had to go back.
I don't understand how a creator just abandons their baby. Because to me, I know what limited things I've got together for what me and you have been discussing. Yep. That's my baby.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine just walking away from it. Like,
So what makes someone do that? Yeah. So that good stories, good titles, and
like in someone else was saying, well, if you're writing, say, Superman, okay, I can see where you would get burnt out because you didn't create it. You're invested, but even if you read it for a few years, okay, I'm burnt out. I want to go to Green Lantern or whatever. But I couldn't imagine abandoning my own. Rob, you're lurking in the shadows here. Do you have an answer for us?
Not really. Just enjoying the day.
He's just enjoying the day. I have one.
So you, all right, yeah, that was
I have
you.
one.
What's yours?
As I was telling you last night, I'm one of the few Clone Saga fans.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I mean, it got off the rails at a certain point. They needed their monster to keep them.
Flew off the rails.
Yeah, like I love Ben Reilly. I love the aspect of the story. It ended poorly, and then Ben Reilly's run as Spider-Man was kind of handled poorly. So what I would do, I would have tweaked it. Ben would have never been Spider-Man, or he wouldn't have been the real Spider-Man. Because what did he really inherit? I mean, when they went with that shot value of, okay, Ben's the real Spider-Man, so the guy you've been invested in the last, say, 15, 20 years, he's not, 15 years at the time, he's not the real Spider-Man. Okay, fine, cool. But what do you get? Because Ben Reilly, he got, okay, you just get to be Spider-Man now. You're still Ben Reilly, though. You're gonna dye your hair blonde. You're gonna go work at the Daily Bugle, where Peter did, but you're Ben Riley. To me, that was a little bit of a slap in the face. And then to have it, just offset later and done away with the glider, and he turns to ash. It was like, oh, come on. I'd far rather have had it probably something with a jackal, to where it comes out like they do the teaser where, okay, Ben is the real Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe a few issues of him actually trying to assume the Peter Parker life again, and Peter having to kind of move on with Mary Jane. She's pregnant at the time. Then it comes out that the jackal was a plan, maybe 6 issues later. But I mean, I don't kill off Ben Riley. I think he's a great enough character. He was a great hero to where you could have ended that differently. What's to say Peter didn't, when he takes the role of Spider-Man back, said, look, you're a little darker than I, but you are Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Give him the black costume. Let him be black costume Spider-Man for some time or something. I mean, or he could have continued on as Scarlet Spider, but I just think that really ended poorly. And then it just got really out there. When you started doing it, I loved Kane, but then when you started getting like the Traveler, that was a little wonky.
Mm.
You got Spider Side, like he was half android, half Peter Parker clone. Yeah. It started getting a little
off the rails a little.
Yeah, I mean, they needed somebody to kind of pull. I think they just didn't know how to. It was selling enough issues. I think they was trying to keep it going as long as they could, because the craze was out there. The fans was buying it. And then it just got to where it's like they jumped the shark at some point.
That was like the Venom with the Carnage and the Venom and what was the name of the other symbiote suits? I forgot now.
Oh yeah,
they had created like a myriad of them. They had created a bunch of Venom suits that were taking over.
You made Carnage less special when you've done that. It's like Carnage was their initial offspring, and he was more powerful than Venom.
Yeah,
it took half of Spider-Man universe to defeat him, along with some Avengers. The next thing you know, you've got 6 more that pop out of
it. Made it a little special for you.
Yeah. And then Carnage, he has one, and every time you turn around, it's like a different symbiote is showing up, and now it's just like, oh man, it's just crazy to think of.
I'm wondering what the diehard fans of Spider-Man were thinking when they pick up a book and like, oh, wait a minute, what do you mean there's 60 of these guys? It's like, wait a second. Like,
I remember at first initially they had a cool look.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, these look
Carnage was awesome. Yeah, Carnage was awesome.
And the next thing you know, it's just like they didn't do anything with it. So I mean, it's like they're not really special when Spider-Man can kind of backhand a few of them and they're done for.
Right. Yeah.
But you're like Venom or Carnage, he can't do nothing with. Why are they so less powerful?
Now, I'll tell you what I think they did really well was with King in Black, the new series.
No,
I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was I liked that. I thought that they kind of went back and said, I think we have something with this symbiote suit, not just from the Secret Wars, but let's expand on that. And I think they did a really good job. So,
would you be in the guest? We turn the floor over to you. What's your nerd out question?
Oh boy, like for you guys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. I think that's good. Is Monster into horror? Are you into horror fans as much as?
He's not a horror guy like us.
Okay.
Right. He's not.
So what does he? What do you read, Monster? What is he like? What's his favorite stuff?
Well, as far as reading, Monster is a big Avengers. He's a Green Lantern man, X-Men.
Old 80s, 90s, or
like everything from.
Okay.
He'll go back and read stuff in the 70s.
And do you pick up books still? Do you still go every week and pick up a book?
Yeah, well, I stop by here and see Kev, and he hooks me up with. Right now, I'm currently still getting Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider just started back up.
I like Ghost Rider. Yeah.
I was huge in Ghost Rider back in the day, so
big Ghost Rider fan. I like Ghost Rider too. Yeah. When McFarlane did it with that issue of Spider-Man, I thought you did a fantastic Ghost Rider. Yeah.
That was my favorite run of Ghost Rider. That 90s, I was a Danny Ketch fan. I picked it up at issue 1, and I just kind of went from there. The Midnight Suns, the Spirits of Vengeance. I love them. I couldn't get enough of it.
Did you like that because of the horror aspect of it?
Yeah, because even the Ghost Rider title itself, it had that horror vibe to it. I look at like Blackout in some of those first issues. He was a vampire, or technically a vampire. He had things that were implanted, but he would bite people. But he had the ability to encompass a room and turn it completely black. and he could see and whatnot, and like I don't know, I was captivated by him.
Yeah.
Scarecrow was another villain that in the Ghost Rider world they made something really really cool. There's a crossover with which he was in the book multiple times, but there was a crossover with Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Captain America.
Oh wow!
And they go against the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And the Marvel Scarecrow is far different than the Batman Scarecrow.
That's a completely different.
Yeah, so he's got like supernatural powers and whatnot. I think, well, he couldn't die.
Yeah, he couldn't die. Like I just remember one of those scenes. He's like stabbed with his own pitchfork, and then these little demon things just drag him into the shadows, and he's gone. And then he's back the next phase.
What was that? Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider Volume 2.
I'm gonna look for it now.
I will literally, I'll stack the first 30 to 35 issues of Ghost Rider Volume 2 against any book out there. It's quality. Now, after 35, you're pretty good up. It's still good, title up to about 50. And then after 50, it gets real spotty to the end. And then, like, the last 10 issues or so, when you really realize what Ghost Rider becomes, he's God's angel of vengeance, an angel of death. That got to be really, really cool. Because these guys hated it. When we were in the Hero Clicks, I found a guy online, he made custom Hero Clicks.
What he
So
did, cheating is what he did.
I had the guy make me a
custom Hero Click?
Yes, he was the Noble Kill Angel of Vengeance version.
So unbeatable.
Oh,
your
yes.
army, you shall die.
I don't want to hear nothing with you and your Wonder Woman's blades, claws, and things.
Hey,
We're not talking about that.
I can't help it, people with me.
But back to you.
So no, I like to, since we're inside a comic store. By the way, we're at the Zone Collectibles today, here in Tifton, Georgia. Can we go look for that? I'd like to buy some of those.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I like that.
I'm telling you, you will.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
You will love it.
What is your favorite current run in comic books? And do you still collect?
I don't have anything current, unfortunately. If I was to jump on something,
you're supposed to say Xyber Ronin.
Thank you.
My apologies. Well, that's a given.
We're only issue 1, so it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you still have time to jump on the Kickstarter and get 9 days left.
9 days left.
The last one I tried to get started on was Thor. And I mean, I don't know how long that's been.
You got onto it during the Straczynski run.
Yeah, it's like whenever Thor came back and started going around and finding
after Civil War.
Yeah, after Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last one I tried. I actually have a few issues, but I just kind of worked.
When they kind of like been slapped Iron Man.
Yes, that was so good a scene right there.
Was that Copiel? Was that?
Yes.
Who did those?
Yeah, he done the art. Really great.
Iron Man's like, whoa, you've been working out? He's like, no, I've just been holding back, and I'm not doing it anymore.
They just kind of tapped Mjolnir on the chest, and like all of his systems just short circuit. And like he like barely tapped it. And it was like, look, I'm a badass.
He's a god of thunder, so yeah. He's been.
They started writing him like he's supposed to be written.
Yeah, MJS or JMS. Yeah, JMS. I'm sorry. He great writer. Great writer. I don't. He doesn't do much currently now, but I think he's got a independent book, if I'm not mistaken. Because another indie guy had just come out with a book, and I want to say the guy he's some of Kirby's people. And the Captain Flag or something like S was his new hero, and they were little singular. They had a big dispute.
I mean, that's a timeless hero. Thor, just like Spider-Man, I think they're timeless. And even the Ghost Rider to a certain point. I think those are like. I mean, think about who was drawing Thor. John Buscema was drawing that back in the day. And now.
I will say, you go back to that. I'm talking about the original beginning of Thor. That's something. For even for our age people, difficult to read.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more simplistic. I think it was a lot more simple back in those days. You read a Namor back in those days, and that was one of my first books too, by the way. Namor, Submariner, it was called. But it was a lot different to read. You thumb through that book pretty quick. Now it's like things like that.
I reread the
Loki in there. He did Thor about putting the hammer under a little force field one time, and I'm just like. Dig under the dirt.
Well, the books were for kids back then.
Yeah,
I reread the death of Gwen Stacy not too long ago, and just the dialogue in it. The story's great still. It holds up today. It's still a great story, but the dialogue in there some of the
That's the
slang
big
they
part.
were using is like, ooh, that didn't hold up very
You
well.
cannot use some of this stuff. Yeah, I was reading a Power Man, Luke Cage Power Man, when he had the yellow shirt
Mhm.
and he was running
James.
around New York City, the tiara, yeah, running around New York City doing something, and there was some writing in there, and I'm like, oh, that would not hold up nowadays. That would not, yeah. So
And that's usually what was the difficult part looking at some of the older stuff is just the dialogue. The art you can understand because they didn't have the resources they didn't have. But the dialogue is dated. It is very much dated.
But it's history, so it's like I think
Oh yeah,
it's a part of comic history. So
you gotta know
can see
where it comes from.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you need to understand where it comes from.
So, Mittens, do you have a question?
It's very difficult.
I should have asked him at his personal show. He'd have it ready by now.
Yeah.
You kind of sprung it
I'm
on.
gonna go with what a little bit what I talked about earlier. Your favorite, and I'm like small little series like that one we were talking about before. It was like 6 issues. Somewhere like what's y'all's favorite that you can think of?
Smaller series. That was
Yeah, like
that.
it could be crossovers or whatever, but just like
I got one for sure. Easy. Wolverine, Sam Keith versus Cyber. Is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
The one where he's Sam Keith drew those issues. Bloodlust, I think it was called. Wolverine.
was it before or after he lost his enemy?
Oh no, it was way before. I would say. Yeah. He's climbing up the side of the mountain with his claws,
Yeah,
and he runs into Cyber, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't believe it's you!" And he made him jump out the side of the window of the wherever they were, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Wolverine. Who's he afraid of?" Very cool. I thought, I don't know.
You didn't realize how bad Cyber was until that moment.
Right.
Like, no.
You're such a badass, Batman.
Yeah. For that time, it was pretty cool. So that's gotta be one of my favorites.
Now, the reason I asked about before or after there was actually like a few issues after he had lost his adamantium and he had the bone claws. Cyber broke them with one of his hands. Like he gets cut and Cyber's cut across the face and he's like, "What? What is this?" And he just
Okay. I'm going to go Executioner Song. As a kid of the 90s, I loved X-Men, and that just, it had everything in there. And Strife was, at the time, such a badass villain.
Yeah.
And, he was like, you realize what Cable could be with, without the techno-organic virus he has to fight the whole bag, and the fact that Strife was molded by Apocalypse. So, and then you got all of the cool stuff. I mean, you got the 90s X-Men, Archangel.
Was Strife a Layfield Simon? Was that a Layfield creation along with Walt Simon's wife? Wasn't his wife writing them for a while?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So was that a creation of? Was that their creation? Strife was.
So I know he created Deadpool and Cable, and I want to say that Strife was as well. But I do know that Simon's wife was writing at the time, because he'd done a lot of the stuff with she'd done a lot of the stuff with X-Force, I believe.
Walt Simonson and his wife. Yeah, that's right.
Actually, aside from the comic, one of my favorite, I know David's. Like we were talking about how, well, I don't think we talked about it this time, but in numerous times we talked about how you have these villains and they're so, indestructible in the beginning, and then they try and bring them back to have, more sales and do the storylines, and then little by little they become not what they were.
Yeah.
The 3-part Superman Wednesday Unafraid.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just thought those. Yeah.
That's so real good.
That was the one that's how they should. After Doomsday wasn't even killed after the death of Superman. Really, before he was just in prison. The way they had to get rid of him was they had to take him to the end of time. That's the only way.
And Superman didn't even do it alone. He had to get Wave Rider and
he had to have
help from Darkseid, and you see like
origin.
Yeah, you see, Doomsday just mauled Darkseid's ass up. How cool is Cyborg Superman looking at, bro?
Oh, dude,
That's a figure that I want. I don't know why someone hasn't.
You posted something a couple of days ago on your Facebook site on Hassel, by the way, on Facebook. Yeah. So you posted something really cool It was an image of Superboy versus.
Oh, that was the Cyborg Superman coming back. Yeah, he's John Kent. And you're not gonna tell me John Kent stands a chance against Hank Henshaw.
I thought that was great. Yeah, I thought whatever they're doing with it now looks pretty. He's out. That's Cyber Superman is pretty badass.
Yeah, because Deathstroke was in the background. I think it's the final, or they have a new crisis. I'm not sure what the crisis is this time.
Yeah, it was a crisis.
It's a crisis of some sort. But yeah, that's what that was from. That looked really great.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That was another thing found out in the 100 Prey didn't think it was actually Krypton.
Yes, that was the first of that
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, and he escaped and beat the crap out of Darkseid. Right?
Yes.
He got out.
He got out of his chains or bonds, whatever.
Oh, he mauled Darkseid's ass.
Then he
up.
found
That
out
was
where
good
he
stuff.
came from. He was the people that actually put him in the cube that landed him on Earth.
See, that's what's crazy about back in the 90s. They didn't know what to do with these characters. They made them so badass, like Doomsday, Bane, Apocalypse, various others. They didn't know what to do with them after that. It's like I guess you make them so badass, you box yourself into a corner. It's like, okay, how do we keep doing this? And then next thing you know, Doomsday's in one crisis getting beat up by 2 Superman in like 3 panels. It's like, what? Come on.
What did you feel about? How did you feel? Not that I'm taking over the floor here,
Oh,
but
please do.
I'm just
Please
curious.
do.
What did you feel about the X-Men movie with Apocalypse?
I had mixed feelings on that because I was so excited to finally get, Apocalypse. And they turned Angel into Archangel, even though he didn't turn blue. But we got Metal Wings finally. And that looked, some of the design and graphics of that looked really kick-ass. I wasn't a fan of how they did the makeup for Apocalypse, per se, because I seen some fan art before the movie dropped, where like a fan took an actual picture from the movie and they kind of tweaked it. And it was like, if a fan can do this, why can't the studio? But I don't know. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot worse. Like that Phoenix movie they put out was a lot worse. But I just think they really could have done something special there, and they missed the ship a little bit.
Yeah, I've only got two words for you on that. Olivia Munn looked badass.
Oh man,
so those are my 2 words on that.
She was a great Psylocke, wasn't she?
She was an awesome
Psylocke. How would you like to be on set when that malfunction happened?
Yeah, I thought she was the perfect Psylocke. I think they did a really good job with her in Psylocke.
They did.
So I didn't mind the movie. I thought a lot of people hated it, and I could see why. But it wasn't. The special effects were great. So
see, I'm the kind of fan that like I hate when they take too many liberties.
Yeah.
With a kid, like the first Ghost Rider, I semi enjoyed. It was like it's not too far off the beaten path of what it actually, So I got it. That second one was like, and I hated it because like the guy that's in that movie, oh man, what was the one that was the angel?
Oh yeah, he was in
he's in so much stuff.
In a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But I love him when he plays a play. He's a great actor, and I like Nick Cage as Johnny Blaze, but that storyline was just, it was bad.
Sam Elliott in the first one did pretty good, even though he wasn't in it.
Even though he wasn't the caretaker I was wanting to show up on screen, but my caretaker is from the Danny Ketch Volume 2 run, so we can. But I can live with those tweaks.
I mean, Sam Elliott. Who doesn't like that guy?
Man.
He's immortal.
That guy's great, man. Yeah, he's like a vampire. I saw him in a lifeguard movie. You guys know he made a lifeguard movie?
I did not.
He made a lifeguard movie. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It was all right. It was okay.
On Netflix, I haven't watched it yet. It's like the man that killed Hitler
and Bigfoot.
And Bigfoot.
I've seen that. It's pretty good.
Is it?
It's weird. It's out there, but it's pretty good.
It's kind of stuff that sells now.
The last thing I've seen him in was 1883, and I really, really enjoyed that series.
Love that guy. He's a good dude.
It was great.
Roadhouse. Roadhouse.
Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin. Yep.
Well, with that being said, we're going to kind of wind the show down. I'm going to give some thanks to some people. First of all, we want to thank Mr. Kevin and Kim Clady for giving us this wonderful media outlet and being a great sponsor. They allowed they made everything that happened here today happens. They're great people. If you haven't ever been over to the Zone, please come down to 305 Main Street in Tifton, Georgia. Check them out. They got everything under the sun, and the conversation alone is worth buying something. We would like to thank More Custom Designs, because as you can see, We all got new swag. Shows.
I'm not taking this off, by the way.
Yeah, he's not. He's took it.
I'm wearing it every day.
And she done my cup. She's done several things for us, so we always got to give her thanks. And most importantly, I thank Mr. Garcia here for honoring and gracing our show. Now he's been here twice. We got Mr. Mittens here. We got Big Rob in the back. Gary Monster is pulling the strings as executive producer behind on the other side of the U.S. here. I'm still pretty sure that he's working for Cobra. So
I had something to say before you sign off.
all right, what we got, bud?
I just wanted to. No. I do better off camera. I have the perfect face for radio.
So do
I've
You
been
gotta
told.
give the radio star.
It is. I just wanted to give another quick shout out to my niece and nephew and Spark Point players down in Fitzgerald doing Frozen Junior. My niece said last night went great. We're going to do it again tonight and tomorrow night. So if you get a chance, if you're in Fitzgerald, go see them. All these kids work really, really hard. And the last thing is tomorrow is a great day because it is my sister and Hassel's birthday. So happy birthday to Hassel and my sister.
It is. He is getting there. There is gray in the beard. There is gray in the beard. Typically we do giveaways about this time, but Mr. Garcia's gives so much away today. You had to be here to get the giveaway. But in the future, like, subscribe, share. We will interact with you and we will give you things. We do this very often.
We do.
So until then, stay tuned, live nerdy, settle meadow.